Check, check. Okay, cool. Wow, this is weird for us. All right, well, now that the ice is broken, so I think a lot of you guys have heard me talk about Puffco enrichment, probably since most of you have started. Puffco enrichment is really about forming a perspective for you guys that is insightful of what is actually going on in the industry on all sides. And I felt weird kicking off this program and teaching you guys about how to grow and pipe making and concentrates without covering the darkest side of cannabis, the side of cannabis that's used as a tool of oppression. And that's something that's personally affected me. I've been arrested 3 times for cannabis. My story's a little bit of a shitty one, but Bernard's story is the worst one I've ever heard. And I thought it was important for you guys to kind of hear the dark side and the things that we're maybe a little bit blind to. As we work every day and we enjoy this and we smoke weed and we engage with the community, we kind of forget that there are people that are suffering for this plant. So with that depressing ass intro, I'd like to introduce Bernard Noble.
Yeah.
Around that side, man. Okay. Cool.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Let's have a seat. All right. Man, I feel like I'm on between 2 ferns. It's like weird. Okay, so to kick things off, let's maybe start with a bit of your background. What was your life like as a kid growing up in Louisiana? Can you use that mic right there?
Okay, again, thank you, everybody. It's a humble experience for me. My name is Bernard Noble. I'm born and raised originally from New Orleans. We separated. I'm from Louisiana because where I come from, New Orleans, is different from Louisiana. So I'm the oldest of 6. Grew up tough from a rough area called Gertown in New Orleans. Like I told a couple of people, we have wards where I'm from. So I'm from the 17th ward in New Orleans, real poverty type area. So through that come up, being bad and adventurous was like the norm for me. I grew up under a stepfather. It was kind of rough living with a stepdad, abusive family. So as I got older, I was a little rebellious. Didn't have my biological father in my life, so I made bad decisions. Ultimately, it led to other things. So here I am today, after so many rough things that happened in my life because of other things besides marijuana. I'm trying to make some changes in perspective in how people think in Louisiana.
What's the culture like in Louisiana? For those that don't know, I think a lot of people are from California here, from the East Coast, and I think Louisiana is a very different place. Can you let us know a bit more about what it's like?
Louisiana is extremely different. Being in this room right now with you cats, I feel like I'm in a safe haven because we can't do this where I come from. Like I was talking to my man earlier, to be in this environment, if we were in Louisiana and the neighbors smelled the weed, they would call the police and the doors coming down. Here it's really exciting. We're real tough on marijuana. They sent us to jail for a long time. And for people that haven't heard, I was tried, convicted, and sentenced to almost 14 years for a $5 bag of marijuana.
Yeah, that's about 2 joints, I think.
Well, it was just straight pool. So it wouldn't, and people don't care whether or not I had it. I was actually with 2 other guys, but it was just a waste of money, and it wouldn't have never made 2 joints. So they hyped it up like I was a $5 kingpin.
Okay. All right.
It really wasn't worth it. It was just harsh, and the product itself, I don't know how it went so far, but coming up rough like that, what they did was they dug into my past when I made bad choices, and they never talked about the progress that I had made before I ever went to prison. So they manipulated the system, and they went back 20 years and use old past and put it together with something in the 21st century. And they basically said, I never learned my lessons, so you have to go back to jail.
I'd like to talk a little more about that. What were your first experiences around drugs? And do you think your environment played any part in that?
A whole lot, you know, education, just being poor and not having a positive role models, all the crazy stuff I saw people do. It was cool. You know, drug usage was cool to me then, not really knowing, because I grew up around it all my life. And that's how I actually started to venture out and use way heavier drugs than marijuana, because when I actually started experimenting with drugs, we thought weed was for girls because it didn't have no kick. So that's how I ventured off, just not being God right, just having the wrong people as role models. I followed, you know, and it was all I had.
Yeah, I actually share this with Bernard. For those that don't know, I've spoken about this publicly. I am a former addict, and I think currently we have opiates sweeping the nation, and at the time that Bernard was going through it, he was going through it was crack. And it's something that I think we all get caught up in, or a lot of us get caught up in, but it affected Bernard a bit differently than it affected me, and we'll get into that in a moment. Katrina happens. You're from Louisiana.
Katrina
How did that
was,
affect you?
that was an experience for me where I actually felt like I knew what it was to see the world come to an end. With my family, we already had a kid. She was conceiving one when all of this happened. So it was a nightmare where I had to protect my family at night by being on guard, being ready for violence. The sunlight was the only light we had to survive, and when it went down, the villains came out. So I had to stand guard at the door and watch my family, because we had a lot of looting and robbing going on. So I had to take guard at the door. When my family had personal needs, like using the bathroom, I had to stand out and watch them, because we didn't have nothing but buckets to use. Nasty water, and the air felt like it just started leaving the world. The police had us trapped in. I was living in an area called Kenner, Louisiana. They wouldn't let us leave. They blocked the bridges off. So they were on detail trying to protect the gas stations and the hamburger joints for people that was hungry and wanted to try to get in there to have something to survive on. They was distracted from the bridge. I was able to run away like I was in a cage. So the looters took their distraction off, keeping the overpasses blocked, and that's how I was able to get out. Moved to Kansas City, and things changed.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. How did you get out? After you crossed that bridge and found a way to sneak out, what happens next?
We drove for hours. Every little city that we stopped in that wasn't flooding, they understood where we went to. We was giving gifts and offers. I actually had a friend of mine that broke into a jewelry store.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was able to get a watch from him before I took off on the road. So that was a piece of merchandise that was taken to actually survive. I was able to get it. I sold it. We drove for hours, ended up in Texas. Family reached out with support. From Texas to the big arena out there, met some interesting people that was willing to help us, that had Katrina funding going on in Kansas City. So I say I lost everything else. I have a pregnant girlfriend and one kid with us. So I didn't have anything to lose but everything to gain. Got to Kansas City, bought that Southern cooking out there, and I turned into the new Elvis Presley in Kansas City. So it was interesting. They helped me, they supported me, and it was good.
And tell me about Peanut.
Peanut.
Yeah.
That was the crazy me.
Okay.
I was a bad little kid. So my nickname is Peanut. I have the tattoo on my arm. Peanut was a real rebellious little cat.
Okay.
And
I can relate.
yeah, I had to become that person in prison to keep the villains off me. But underneath it, I learned to be humble and grateful for a lot of things that's happening in my life now. So I kind of keep Peanut out of my equation. I'm Bernard now. Yeah.
Cool. What were, you're in Kansas City now. What were your dreams for your career, for your life at the time? Everything is new. There's like a world of opportunity. Where was your head leaning? What did you want to do, become?
Kansas City put me in, they gave me a vision for cooking. They appreciated the food that we have at home, what we actually call a poor man's meal. They was just intrigued by this dish we have in New Orleans called Yakimi. And it's a liquid broth made with soy sauce and spaghetti noodles and fresh green onion, boiled eggs, and it's placed in a bowl with the 2 eggs will be looking up, smiling at you. So you could add ketchup, more soy sauce or hot sauce, and it's eaten with a fork. So I went out there with that crazy dish. They hooked to it so easily. I was like, man, I'm on to something. So I embraced getting out there with these guys. They respected our little food culture. So that was my vision right there, just to stay in Kansas City and cook.
Great. So you survive Katrina, bouncing across the country, you find a home, people see something special in you and what you're contributing to the local community. It's like things are looking up.
It was a definitely bright future, and I had no plans to come back down south. But business was going so good, I wanted to change the menu from the tradition with the white beans and stuff I cooked for them with turkey necks and yakimi. That was my menu. So I decided business was good, and I said, let me go back to Louisiana and get this meat we call hot sausage.
Okay.
It's an amazing piece of hot meat that if you like spicy food, it makes the best French bread sandwiches. So that was just my plan, not to stay, come home and get the meat and go back to Kansas City. But unfortunately for me, it turned into a nightmare coming from Kansas City to get my merchandise and just leave.
Yeah, so tell us about that. You go to see your family, expand on your business, keep growing your life in a positive direction.
Yeah.
What happens when you get back home in 2010?
Like I said, just to get some merchandise. And my father owns a stereo shop. And my intentions was to just go in and say hello. I drove 15 hours straight to get to Louisiana and just sneak in the back door and leave. My kids were growing, everything was good. I came to Louisiana to get TVs put in the car, TV monitors for the kids. That particular day, a cat worked for him. I knew he went around the corner to get the weed. So my old man came back fussing and bitching. And where they at? I said he went to the store. They went to get something to smoke. He was like, man, go get them fools and tell them we got work around here need to be done. Okay. It was 110 degrees that day in the shade. And that poverty area, people live real poor, and the streets are the only thing that the kids have to play in out there. So we were on our way back from the grocery store with hundreds of people in the street, about 5 or 6 cars of cops swing the corner. The cat throws the weed, and what I went through, nobody cares if I had it or not, but it actually wasn't mine. So when the cop, about to roll over us with the car, he slammed us on the car. My man had already thrown the weed. He walks about 10 feet, picked the weed up, and out of the 3 men, he comes directly to me. So it kind of, I knew I was there for business, and it kind of offended me. So he comes to me and he was like, what the fuck is this? And I looked at him like, I don't fucking know. You tell me what the fuck it is. So when I addressed him like that, he said, oh, yeah? And his last words to me, they like to call us not by our name, but by our skin color. So he said some nasty things to me, and he promised me that it wouldn't go away. And I told him I wasn't worried about it, but it turned into a nightmare.
So what comes next? You're arrested? What are the next things that happened to you?
Went to hearings several times. The district attorney people were able to convince the rest of their folks that I was a flight risk when I actually came out of Kansas City that day for court in the snow, trying to get out of a snowstorm to make it to court. Once they got me inside the system, they used to hold me that I was a flight risk. My attorney fought that it wouldn't work. So I stayed and they kept me in jail. It led from there to months and months of just running back and forth to the court system, waiting hours inside of a little bit of cell, wondering if I'm gonna make it inside court today. Every 3 months, I would go back to court. It took maybe a year for something actually to happen. And when it did happen, the first thing they did was give me 5 years without asking me, are you retarded or crazy, you smoke weed, you need help. They told me I wasn't eligible for help. And I got locked and thrown away, started on a 5-year sentence, got down to maybe 30 days of it. The DA didn't like what was going on. We have the most devilish district attorney in Louisiana. He a nightmare to look at. So he wasn't happy with me doing half of 5 years for $5 and hadn't been in trouble in over 20 years. 30 days before my release date, he brought me back to court, like digging up an old corpse, brought me back, opened up the case and re-sentenced me on the same charge. I never left jail. So he was able to write to Supreme Court and, use this judicial speech on him, and they labeled me as a multiple habitual offender. So when the ruling came back, it was just said to me in a professional way, it's okay for this man to say this about you, he's right, so we're gonna re-sentence you as a habitual offender, and it turned into 13 and a half years. So my life flashed in front of me. I was on my way out the door and got turned around. So a lot of people wouldn't have a clue what that felt like, but the life left my body. And that's when the process started. Media and all kind of stuff, but it was hard for me because I really felt like I was about to lose it. And at that time I had more than 28 years clean. Not marijuana, but the stuff that...
Is your family there with you in the courtroom?
Yeah.
What's the vibe like? Like you're going into a courtroom.
Yeah.
You've served your time. You've paid a heavier price than anybody should pay for doing something we all do every day.
Yeah.
We've all mostly done today. What's the room like with your family there? Your mom there? Your sisters there? I'm assuming some of your children there.
Yeah.
What's going on?
It was hard for me because my kids wasn't really understanding to what's going on. But what's hard for me, my mom sitting there, and it's rough for me to even think about. She's sitting there scared, knowing that we can't afford to keep these people off of us. So I'm looking at her and she's like, I don't know what to do. It's gonna be a lynching in here and I can't help you. So.
Thanks for sharing that part. It's, I'm assuming it feels helpless and hopeless. Like there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, it was rough. It wasn't a damn thing I could do, but to see my mom like that, and she watching me go to the death chamber. So she just have to be a witness, cause ain't nothing she could do. And that alone was hard for me. And when the ruling finally came down on this resentencing, I mean, it took her life away. It left her in a bad state of mind. I was so out of it going inside that place after being there already until I really felt like I was being pushed to be somebody that society was talking about, stereotyping. So I really wanted to act that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I went through a lot of pain, and eventually I got myself together to try to fight what I was going through in prison, because it was...
And what's that process like? Like, how do you mentally, taking a step back, what, I don't think anybody here knows, what's prison like? Not having your freedom, not like the cliche bullshit, like what is it like to not be in control of your own life and potentially even whether or not you could end it?
Ever get it back? Yeah, well, I like to give people just a light example of You know, let me come to your crib and just lock you in your bedroom. And if you want anything, you have to ask. I have to feed you. I have to let you outside. If you have a master bedroom, you're fortunate because the toilet is already in there. So just being in that confined space, like more hours than they have in a day, it was hard for me. I went in there with the mind frame of like Nemo, you know, and I was in a room full of sharks. So after a couple of months, I developed an attitude where I had to turn into a killer whale because inside that room, maybe this big, it's 100 different people in it. All of us got these crazy ass different characters and personality. So it was fighting, drug usage. It was almost like on the street, but we never could leave that room. We ate in the same room, slept in the same room, showered, and that confinement was rough. Mentally, it took a hold on me. But being in such a tough environment for such a long time, you have to adapt. And it's like throwing you in the jungle. You could either let the tigers eat you, or you could learn how to get in a tree and survive and eat flowers. So I took on a different character. And I was told, don't get in no trouble. I'm like, shit, you don't know how hard it is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be some trouble
Yeah.
because if you show any signs of weakness, you know you're gonna get taken advantage of.
Is there anything like being neutral in prison? Can you just mind your business and nobody's gonna like mess with you?
You can. Like a positive group would be in there. Some cats would take on Muslim religion. Some cats wanted to be mentors, try to help the other guys not be so violent, take on a different perspective. It's that group, and then it's the group that want to steal from you. You know, when you go get your commissary, they planning to rob you when you come back in the room. You can neutral, you can be, but sometimes it forces you to get out your comfort zone to help the next man because he's weak, he's vulnerable, and he's brand new there. So being neutral is optional.
You're a good dude, man. The first thing you said was like you might have to defend somebody else, not yourself. You're a good dude.
Yeah, I had that problem before I had to help a weaker man.
Yeah.
You know.
For those that don't know, Louisiana is the world's prison capital in the world. There are more people in jail per head in Louisiana than in the most fucked up country you can think of. So he's next to a lot of different people that I'm assuming a very small portion of people that maybe deserve to be there, a lot of people that got pushed into it, mostly people that got pushed into it, and a lot of people that are broken by it, that are just in this fucked up cage fighting to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
So thank you for telling us about that. I mean, what was the most difficult part of serving time?
Well, for me, I'm a ladies' man.
Okay.
And it was hard to imagine I have to spend 13 and a half years of my life without being around a girl. Mentally, that took me somewhere where I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. But, you know, as time went on, that little fantasy or whatever you want to call it, that left my mind because I had more serious things to focus on being in there.
Yes, well, speaking of which, you have a lot of people that love you in your life. You have kids, you have family, you have a mom. What's your relationship like with them while you're in?
It was emotional every time. While I was in prison, it was emotional. It was hard for me to talk to my mom because all she would do is cry and pray, and you know, it made me hurt, and I couldn't do that in there. I really couldn't do it. So
yeah, you got to keep it together.
Yeah, I would like just put my hand around my neck or something when I'm talking to her, so I wouldn't choke up. My kids, what I love about them, they didn't pick on me because I was out their life. They embraced it when I came home, and everything was good. Unfortunately, with the parent, things changed. But I learned to look over that too, because that place actually made me stronger than I knew I was. You know,
How so?
I actually learned my own people skills, not with no help of the prison, because they didn't allow us to educate ourselves. The object of being in prison is they wanna brainwash you basically, so you can come out like a mad dog, and if you bite somebody, they're gonna put you back in the kennel. So I had to fight that. And
I mean, was there any type of rehabilitation offered? Are there books? Are there any classes?
What they call rehabilitation, it was just to help the guards that worked there pass the 8-hour shift. Because reading a book from 79 in the 21st century, it ain't no help.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing about trying to educate us more on how to read in a society. Now, they had these programs that society only hears about, but you don't know about it. So it's this one Steve Hoyer, I mean, he on a map like way up there.
Okay.
So I got a chance to go there. The worstest place in the world. No education, locked down all day, like I said again, with more hours than they have in a day. It was a scam that the taxpayers don't have a clue what's going on. But if you're an inmate there, you're about to see what the pain is in there.
And what is your average day like? Like, what? Just chop it up for me. Like, I wake up
5:30, 4:30 in the morning. You got a guard that maybe had a bad day. He don't want to be there, so he comes in the room making an announcement. Y'all motherfuckers, get up! Just get the fuck out of my bed. Get ready for breakfast. So that's a typical morning of being yelled at. A bunch of grown men told what to do all day by a cat that's maybe 18 years old. He just got out of school, his first job, and that's the only thing that makes him feel like he's powerful. So he know he got a lot of backup. So he will come in there, talk crazy. We have to line up on the side of the wall, walk around the room, get this food. Sometimes they will let inmates feed other inmates inside the room. And it's like giving one dog a bowl of food and not everybody else. And it get out of control. So from 5:30 in the morning to 9 o'clock, we screaming and hollering at each other, trying to eat. Couple fights
Every
break
morning.
out. It was brutal. And you have to learn to be in a different comfort zone. But so much violence and stuff was going on.
Sure.
It was hard for me sometimes to stay neutral.
So where do you find, this is a really fucked up place. Like, I think it's hard to imagine what goes through your mind, like how you stay resilient, not physically, not with interaction with other people, but where do you find hope in this place?
I have a small spiritual belief where I come from, the background, and that used to carry me. That used to carry me where I would sit down and cry and pray and be like, well, what are you gonna do to make it through this day? You have to live every day, one day at a time in that place. So my comfort zone would be drinking coffee. I would drink so much coffee.
Okay. I can relate to that too.
That was my new high. They had all the drugs in there I needed, but I knew I couldn't go that route because it would take me somewhere that I've been before and I wasn't interested in it no more. So we had this concoction with coffee, and it would actually take me out of my body and make me feel like I'm free for a little while.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so you have your 5-year sentence for a nickel bag of weed. Sorry, guys. All right, so you have your 5-year sentence for your nickel bag of weed. The end of that 5-year sentence, it gets extended to 13. You're in there. Your family is suffering. Shit's fucked up. What changes? You didn't serve your whole 13 years. Where do people start stepping in and stepping up for you?
Well, it was maybe a couple months after I was resentenced. It made me feel good. It turned into outrage, and I didn't know it was gonna take off like that. And the one guy that noticed me, I guess a bunch of people familiar, it was Al Jazeera. And he shined the light on it. And from there, it was just a domino effect. Everybody started picking up on it. City councils, the DA didn't care about none of that. So it took 8 years of my life and people begging and pushing and fighting. After an 8-year struggle, he finally let me out. Had to be on parole for a few months. I did so excellent with that they were looking for me to fail, and I knew this. So when I put everything on smooth sailing, they wouldn't take no phone calls, they wouldn't return no calls. The probation officer, didn't care if I needed help. They were looking for me to fail. So I knew that, and I just reversed it. Parole went away in a couple months.
Okay.
I was able to move on and start doing things.
So you're released. How much of your 13-year sentence did you end up serving? 8 years?
8 years.
Okay, so now you're away from society for 8 years. You're used to being in a small room with 99 other men fighting over whatever little they give you. What's it like to go back to this reality that I'm assuming you probably forgot or fell out of touch with?
I forgot a lot, but I embraced it so well. I was just excited the first day of my release. I actually had a video that some people put together for me. It was the best day of my life. And what was exciting about it is when I went to the hotel, I was able to walk in there without this ugly ass jumper on and chains around my waist, and I can't take no more than a few centimeters apart while walking. I was glad to see just people. I walked in the lobby all night. Okay. I lost contact with just being able to be free without somebody telling me so. I ran through the hotel all night, sit in the lobby at 2 o'clock in the morning because I was happy not to be told, the TV going off at 9 o'clock. I appreciated being able to just sit in the damn bathroom by myself without a bunch of jocks standing right by me trying to use the urinal. So it was a lot of small things that I really learned how to appreciate when they took it away from me. Not that I neglected it, but I learned to appreciate it more. It was just my freedom.
What are the first things that you start focusing on? Do you start immediately dreaming of what's my next move? Do you start kind of thinking about your relationships and the time you're gonna spend with people? Where does your mind lean first?
Well, I was concerned about my character around people because I had been closed in so long. The support that I had, it had already made plans for me to move in this direction that I am. So I didn't have a problem with that, but just kind of getting back into things. And again, the people that I know and the way we were raised, coming home from prison and doing a lot of time, they had got normal, so they wouldn't really be ecstatic they'll say they're happy, but just to have you back home is like, okay, you're home. What you gonna do? No big parties or nothing. So,
sure.
Yeah, I was used to the toughness. I got in and I just worked my way back in with people and coming back into the world a little bit at a time.
So, I think that one thing I want to ask Bernard is what happened to you is really fucked up, obviously, but is this a rare case? Are you just some crazy anomaly where there's some crazy ass DA who's running for re-election, he wants to make an example out of somebody, and you are an extremely, extremely rare case of this happening? Or did you find yourself surrounded by people like yourself?
It's all the time. Actually, guys that really committed some crazy shit, they would not believe. They didn't believe that I was there for $5. It was just so crazy. It's confusing to me at times, but I was just I don't even know how to express it. It changed a lot for me. Sometimes it leaves me speechless, where I just have to think about it because it was new. It was a new experience for me being away from people so long.
I'm personally curious, this isn't written down. What's it like seeing somebody on the inside that you know what happened to you happened to them? Do you guys connect over it? Is there this bond?
It's a strange relations inside that room. Several guys was in there for small amounts of marijuana. And we would actually try to compare cases I had $20. I might get more time than you, where I only had a nickel bag. I should get about 3 or 4 months. No. You know, it's torture for either of us, and it's typical. It uses for examples to make the taxpayers think that they're getting rid of crime, when actually it's only about the taxpayers paying bills to them and no rehabilitation for the people that's coming home.
I've personally seen, being through the court system, that I know very well, and the statistic is actually coming from the New York Times that African Americans are 3.7 times more likely to be arrested for possession.
Definitely.
And you were prosecuted to the absolute fullest extent of the law. What opportunities weren't afforded to you that may have been afforded to someone of a different walk of life? How do you think this could have gone for somebody maybe not Bernard?
I mean, it's easy. This room is Gertown, where that building is across the street is St. Charles Avenue. So we're always getting it. And because the houses are bigger and the people have different color skin, on that side of the street, they never get messed with. You know, and it was funny, it's like I asked a cop and he talked stupid to me. I said, man, you know, you're a black police. You get up every morning to come in these poor ass neighborhoods. You know, this how you make your money. You never see you on St. Charles Avenue riding in those folks' neighborhood, harassing them. So he talked crazy to me, and that was just the end of it. So basically, like, yeah, this is what we do every day.
So on the nice street or the other side of town, you could probably get caught for 2 joints and survive that.
Nobody ain't going to no jail. I could actually honestly say that if they called them on that side of the street, the cops would ask, which one of these houses you live at? Me bring your ass home. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Oh, me? They're going to call extra units. They're going to bring the dogs. They're going to turn on all the little flashing lights. It's going to be a big scene, you know. And it actually, it creates a thing where the people in that community, we never trust them. So they make this big ass scene, and it's hard to get those people to trust the cops, because every day of their life they wake up, this is how they make their money. And they only target certain areas.
What change would you like to see that you think could help shift away from this problem?
Well, it's really...
That's a big question.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any, I think there's a million little actions, but
it's just a dream. I would just like for the playing ground to be neutral. Don't see color. If you want to be tough on crime, okay, if I'm yellow, I get the same thing as the brown ones get. You know, don't single one out and not spread the rule equal. I would love for the playing field just to be level. If it's gonna be this way, you know, it's gonna be crime. If a person commits the act, let the punishment fit the crime. I mean, don't go overboard.
sounds like lock us all up or keep us all free. It's just treat us all the same.
Just equal shot would be cool.
Yeah.
I know that's like way far. That won't happen in Louisiana. So all I could basically do is just push for right. That's all I can give my city. I'm willing to try to pay it forward. I'm interested in things with helping people that's been formerly incarcerated to come back in, help them notice, understand. Maybe we stereotype, but we don't have to live this way to make it. You could do other things than steal and hurting people. You know, second chances could help. I would like to be the face for that. I had a second chance, and this is who I am today, and I'm gonna keep doing everything I could to educate on criminal justice if and when it's time for me to go farther on educating on medical effects that cannabis and everything would do to help people. I'm interested. So basically anything to do with reforming and educating people and just helping them change their lives from a negative to a positive, I'm in.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
What's I'm getting to the end here. I'm curious to know. You guys had a TV in prison?
We had one TV, and again, that's like putting one bowl of food.
Yeah.
You got 99 more dogs in there. You don't think they're gonna bite his ass? So they put this one TV up there. It's always wanting to be a ringleader. So he want to be the toughest. You want to be tough, so that's when it come in about that TV. He want to watch football. That was the worst time of my life in prison. I like sports, but not like that.
Yeah, me.
So this one fool wants the TV. It goes off at 9 p.m. So it comes on at 6, and he want to watch football in football season from the time the TV come on until the time is to go off. Then they got these other, we call them perverts. They want to watch the housewife shows and see the girls in the bikinis and to use their imagination.
Okay.
So this is where the conflict is about to start. So the war begins, and that's how it is with that one TV in there.
Anything ever come across that TV about legalization in other states?
Hope used to come on there all the time. Just maybe a glimpse of, maybe if this law passed, they're gonna let me out of here. And
what's the vibe like? Louisiana is one thing, but when you're seeing what's happening in California, in Colorado, you were in when Colorado went recreational in 2014, right?
Yeah.
So like you're seeing people gathering, celebrating, enjoying it, going into a store, buying it. I'm assuming you heard something about it while you're in.
I heard a lot, and when I did see it, my initial reaction was, damn, I must have been the sacrifice for the smokers, because they didn't got all of this up to date, but they don't want to let me go. So I just embraced. I was like, that's a good thing, and one day I might make it. That's how I took it.
That's why it's so important that with every single state that goes recreational, if they're going to let us walk into a store and buy cannabis, there should not be a single person like Bernard in jail. But that's still happening in a lot of states. There are places that are legalizing, but they're not getting their people out of jail. And in many cases, like what Bernard was in, he's looking at a private prison system. So they're profiting off of his oppression. And they're using a weapon that we fucking love to hurt people like him.
Yeah. And those be the main ones that's actually doing it, but they're behind the scene. It's getting so corrupt now. The place that I was in, I think it's Jonesboro or Bossier Parish. They put this media out that they're gonna reduce the population in jail. So they want to get rid of actually the American inmates, and they want to put ISIS inside the place, the illegals, because their world is paying $45 a day when Louisiana's only giving $20. So they want to get us.
And that's how it works. That's how private prisons work, is they get money from the state for housing an inmate, and then they just got to make sure that it costs less to feed him than they make. And we're talking about $25 a day for everything, for a roof over your head.
And it's only $8 to feed a band in the type of places I was in. Yeah. So they get $24 a head. They take maybe $5 out of 24, and they feed everybody.
You've clearly survived this, and I think it's given your life a new meaning. And I know that you're currently really involved in activism, and I'm curious to know more about the Noble Cause Foundation.
The Noble Cause Foundation is just, I learned to embrace my last name. And when I didn't care about it, didn't get the concept. But to put that together, it's a noble cause why I need to be doing this in Louisiana. So my goals are trying to just connect activism in any way I'm okay with. But I would like to just get involved with helping the women mostly, because everybody talk about men. And I'm focused on trying to connect with people that's really hungry to change like myself. So I would like to put this organization or program together, Noble Cause, to help women and some men that's coming back into society, to help them learn triggers if they have real serious drug problems, get professionals in with counseling, life coaches, and I just want to show some positive in what came out of my life with the tragedy, and just pay it forward and help some people.
Thank you so much, Bernard.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so thank you for that perspective. This is, like I said when I started, this is about giving you guys a perspective and really a weight to carry around. You're all leaders in the space. Like, Puffco is a leader in the space, and anyone who talks to you and finds out that you're working here is going to consider you a leader in the space. You're gonna have a few opportunities, definitely in your lifetime, but potentially here at Puffco, to nudge change forward. And that's the responsibility that you guys have to the people that call you leaders. And that's why I wanted you to hear this, because we are actually in control. We're actually in a situation where if we build out a culture that vilifies what happens to Bernard and romanticizes the world that we want to live in, which is just we're all left alone. If you're not violent, it's no harm, no foul. If you're hurting yourself at worst, you have the right to do that. That's what I want you guys to carry around. And yeah, now what comes after this is a really nice dinner in a really safe place to consume cannabis and talk about it and not go to jail. But I didn't.
I never see.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of us here have never seen that, but
I don't understand this.
yeah.
It's a damn good feeling. You know, I feel welcome. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
But I really feel like family. A group of people like yourself, I love it because y'all don't see color, you know. You see a person, and it's just a humble experience to even be here. So I want to be known for the positive work I'm trying to put in any situation. So I thank you for the invite, and glad to be here.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing the story with them. I definitely think I saw a few tears, and maybe some people see something they didn't see before or know is happening. It's, I would say that privilege doesn't mean that you've had it easy, that your life is easy at all. Privilege just means that in the game of life, you're on easy mode, and some people are on hard mode. When I get arrested, I come from a poor family, but like my mom finds people who have money, they make bail. I'm not considered a flight risk. When they're finding out that there was weed in my car, the cop is running up with a bag of weed and saying, "I thought you were one of the good ones." They didn't think he was one of the good ones. So use your privilege as a tool. Like
it is.
Yeah, use it as a tool and use the opportunities that you get at Puffco to actually push the culture forward. We have a deep responsibility here to Bernard and everybody like him. There are a lot of young people in jail, all around your age, that will never get the chances you got. Might never get a chance to just be normal or to move past the trauma they experienced. But we can create a world where hopefully that doesn't exist. So carry that weight. We got some great food and great hash coming up next. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. Appreciate it, man. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I love it.
Yeah, that was cool. That was definitely cool. All right, go eat, go sit, go chill, go smoke.